everybody? Welcome back to the Spiral Podcast. Today's the Ohio State podcast, and today I'm going to be talking about if Ohio State winning a national championship is actually realistic. Josh Pate had a graph of the 12-team playoff, and I'm just going to go over it. I kind of did this in the last one, so if you like this video, be sure to go check my previous video because it also goes over this. So I'm just going to jump right into it. So in the beginning, Josh Pate has Ohio State as the 1 seed and going all the way to the national championship and winning it. So Georgia, he has Georgia in the 18 and Penn State in the 9 seed. I think that's fair. And yeah, I think Georgia will actually beat Penn State pretty badly. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I think Georgia's a way better team. Oregon versus Memphis at 5 and 12. I think that Oregon. I agree that Oregon will win. If that's the scenario. So far I pretty much agree. He has Florida State at 7, I believe. Yeah, 7. And I don't know about that, man. I just think Florida State, they came off a loss already. The day I'm recording this, just yesterday they lost in an upset. So overall, I just think Florida State being the 7th seed is kind of crazy. I don't think two ACC teams are getting in personally. So, but that's not really the point. And then Ole Miss would beat them. Yeah, I agree. Alabama versus Notre Dame. I think Alabama would beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame I think it's going to be overrated. They're going to have a lot of wins. They're not going to have a championship game, but they are going to get beat by whoever I think they play, unless they're like a 5 seed somehow. But I think that's a proper ranking for Notre Dame, honestly. And then you have Ohio State versus, you have Georgia versus Ohio State. That would be an interesting game. And he has Ohio State beating Georgia. So, that would be a rematch of the 2022 semifinal game, and that would be a tough game. I think Ohio State can beat Georgia. The question is, like, can Ohio State do it? And it's going to be tough. I think what Ohio State's going to have to do is just their secondary can stop Carson Beck. If they can stop Carson Beck, I think Ohio State wins that game easily. Our run game on offense is going to be hard for anybody to stop, and Georgia's lost a tad bit of talent up front on defense, so I think we would take advantage of that. And I think we would beat Georgia, actually. Especially in this scenario if they came off a loss or something in the SEC championship. If they were to beat Penn State, they might think Ohio State's not that good because they're a Big Ten team as well, but I think we would beat Georgia just because, like I said, our defense, I think it's going to just completely just squeeze Georgia's offense, and I don't think they're going to be able to do anything on our defense. And that might be a hot take. Carson Beck is really great. I think he can also win the Heisman, but I think Ohio State's defense is just that good. I don't think people have realized that fully. And then Oklahoma State versus Oregon. Yeah, Oregon would beat Oklahoma State for sure. I just think Oregon's line is pretty good. Dylan Gabriel, the wide receiver talent is really good at Oregon, and I just don't think Oklahoma State is at that level yet. Yes, they have out Ollie Gordon, who's probably the best running back, or a top 3 running back at that, but I just don't think they would be able to beat Oregon. They would have to throw the ball, and I'm not too sure how confident I am about Oklahoma State's ability to throw it downfield, so I agree with that. And then Ole Miss versus Texas. Yeah, Texas would probably beat them. And then I do think Alabama would beat Miami. I think Miami's overrated. So Ohio State versus Oregon, it would be a rematch of the Big Ten championship, and I'm going to predict that there's going to be a rematch of a championship game in the playoffs this year, whether it's SEC, Big Ten, maybe the Big 12 if, like, Utah wins and then Oklahoma State plays them, but I guarantee you there will be a rematch. And this is a scenario for actually both of the teams that were in the playoffs or their respective championship game. So Ohio State versus Oregon rematch. It would be a crazy. I'm assuming in this scenario Oregon is making the championship. By the way, since they're the 5 seed. this would be a crazy game. I think semifinals. Uh, Oregon wanting their get back at Ohio State, but if Ohio State is presumably beating them twice, I don't think that would change. I think Ohio State with Ryan Day not having to take over the offensive play calling is able to change up their scheme a little better and focus more on the defense and offense. And I think that would actually help Ohio State a lot compared to previous years. And I just think, Will Howard, if he has gotten Ohio State to the number 1 seed, which is very likely, I think he'll be able to handle that pressure and just beat Oregon. Like, I think he's up to the job. He's a 5th-year senior who's had a ton of experience at Kansas State. And at this point, he would have beaten Georgia and Oregon already, and probably Michigan. So why couldn't he? Why couldn't we beat Oregon? I just think it's a whether of can Oregon play better than they could have been against us, and I don't think they would, honestly. I think we would beat them. And then Texas, Alabama, they had Texas winning. So I don't know. I think Alabama could beat them, but I think Texas overall is probably a little more talented. I will say though, I think Texas has a weakness in their D line specifically. They lost that really big guy to the draft, and I think Jalen Milroe being a running quarterback could really penalize them. So I can see a scenario where Alabama's in the final game, and yeah, so I don't know, we'll have to see. But Ohio State versus Texas, can Ohio State beat Texas? Like, how would they stack up? So, Quinn Ewers is a really good quarterback. He might be better. He's probably better than Will Howard, but I wouldn't say by as a big margin as people make it seem. I think I really think if our O line, I think our O line will actually be able to block Texas's D line really well. I don't think Texas's D line is all that great, to be honest. And I know I might get flamed for that, but I think our O line would be able to hold up enough to that uh, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins could both really just run it down Texas's throat that game, and I think that would really help us on offense and defense overall. I think it would develop Will Howard as a passer, and I think if we can be a double threat or technically triple threat with Will Howard's running abilities, I really don't think Texas will be able to stop that. And I think Ohio State's defense is going to be really, really good. I mean, they have depth and they have veterans and they have talent everywhere on the field. So I think Ohio State can definitely win the championship game. To answer the question of this video, because in this scenario, I really think Ohio State can beat these teams. Now, it's going to be tough, and it's not going to be super like a blowout or anything. It's not going to be Ohio State just curb stomps everybody, but I do think Ohio State just has so much talent. They brought in Chip Kelly. They have Jim Knowles in his 3rd year. Ryan Day is able to just be a head coach now. I think it's huge. Our running game is going to be great. Like, our defense is probably the best defense in the country. Our D line is going to be able to put so much pressure on QBs and hopefully stop the run game with the inside linemen, Ty Williams and Tyreek Hamilton, I think. Yeah, so it's gonna be tough to stop Ohio State. I do think Ohio State can win the championship. Yeah, and I think they will win the championship. So that's my prediction. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and make sure to tune in for the next one. Bye.